everyone, Merry Christmas and the celebration New Year's coming. Today we have Ukrainian special live, and I have a very special guest, and he's about to join us. So we just wait for technologies to work out things, and I just remind for the new people that I'm Jenny Klochko, and this is podcast, the platform for guest stories beyond your daily news feed. And today we're discussing the city, the situation in the city, which is now and will be through and was through the years, different historical aspects. It's Lviv and what's happening. And just yesterday in the morning, I woke up and I was just looking through. I was woken up, and there was the article in Huffington Post that the journalist went. Oh, here's our guest. Good morning, Artem. Good morning.
Good morning.
So everyone, it's Artem. He's just right from Lviv. He lives in Lviv. He knows Lviv, and he's the right person to talk about Lviv. Aren't you, Artem? Artem Bondar, he actor. He's doing tour guides in Lviv in a peaceful time, and now you interpreter, and you play an important part in the war. In the war effort. Artem, please explain us and tell us how it changed your life since the war struck, and now your creativity, your knowledge of English, how does it help Ukraine at the moment?
Well, for more than 20 years, I'm doing tours around Lviv and all Western Ukraine area. Was working predominantly with English speakers and Polish speakers, and also was involved in local show business as a host on multiple festivals and shows. So West Ukraine, especially, and well, Ukraine is a very beautiful country. We have lots of interesting sites, and I was very busy in that time. But first, COVID strikes, and all my income, all my business was ruined. And well, we were thinking maybe months, maybe two, but it took too long. Yeah, so I started YouTubing about historical reenactment, in fact. And then war erupted. So there were no hopes for any return to normal life. And we need to find something to do. I was with all my club in draft point first day. And there was so big queue that they said, well, you'll be in the fourth wave of draft when we'll need you. So I started doing crowdfunding among my ex-tourists. So I received tons of messages like, how we can help you? Do you know a respectable fund we can donate or something? So we organized with local businessmen, and they was importing hard steel from Sweden. We was making plate carriers because we started this war when our soldiers was not protected at all. Army only give you rusty AK, boots, camouflage, and let's go to fight. So Soviet doctrine, post-Soviet doctrine, soldier doesn't need a PPE. And we was making this on local factories. We was bringing Cordura truck all the way from Germany to Lviv. And then you called me once to help ITV, I believe, yes?
ITV, yes, we did documentary about the nation.
Yeah, to make a bit of stories from Lviv. Yeah, the first months this was very harsh for Lviv because there was a wave of refugees from East, internally displaced people, IDPs, yeah. So I worked a bit with ITV, with other channels, with the German network, and then Wall Street Journal called me. They was searching for fixer, working frontline. And as a guide who knows tons of people around Ukraine and know all the local moments, how to pass checkpoints, blog posts, how to find proper person to make interview. Well, they hired me and I worked with them, and it was very interesting cooperation. All next year, we was doing first interview with HIMARS teams. We was doing interviews with tortured people in Izum. We was first on the excavation of mass grave found in Izum after Russians fled the Kharkiv area. So yeah, I've seen a lot and work with lots of interesting people from all Chernigiv, north of Ukraine, up to Kherson region. And when the front line was closed for journalists, and well, let's be clear, the first wave of interest to Ukrainian conflict gone. Every theme was already spoken. So yeah, people dying. Yeah, each day people dying. Yeah, they attack another one village. Yeah, they freed another one city. It was not so popular anymore. Yeah, and so I switched. Um, I spent some time in Lviv finding place where can I apply my English and soft skills. So first I started to translate for Red Cross. We was doing hostile environment awareness trainings, um, first non-medical aid, and then also interesting project was which I'm still involved as a volunteer. There was a British project called Pickups for Peace,
Yeah.
where farmers who used to cooperate with Ukrainian farmers gathered a huge organization now, and for more than 2 years, on a month's base, monthly base, they bring in caravan of used pickups from British farms to Ukrainian army, donating them and returning back via Poland by plane. I believe they already brought more than 600 trucks. And I help them interpret, I guide them around Lviv when they come. We visit our military cemeteries, our garrison church, to explain British people the realities we have now. And like nearly 2 years ago, I joined also a international school. It's an American project of humanitarian demining. So there is
It's
a
big now,
school.
isn't it, demining? It's
Hmm?
project for years in Ukraine because Ukraine is
Yeah,
covered
yeah,
with mines.
yeah. We will free the cities. We will free the villages eventually, and enemy soldiers will gone. But the seeds of war they left in our soil will stay there for years and years. And yeah, this is decades in future. And today, Ukraine is claimed to be the most demined area in the world. You know, I worked with the guys who was fighting in Falkland War, and they told me that the Falklands was officially fully demined only last year, and the war was in '82. And it's a small island comparing to the biggest country in Europe,
Yeah.
here in Ukraine. So the area is vast, area is dangerous. When I was working with journalists, I saw in my own eyes how even skilled soldiers, trained soldiers, hit the mine, hit the tripwire, dying on the minefields. But also civilians who was working with um, the farmers, who one farmer drew a tractor, and one of his tool hit some explosive device. So it's not only mines. It's an unexploded munition, bombs, missiles, projectiles, grenades. All this will stay in our ground. It will rot. It will decay. It will pollute our soil, and it will cause troubles for civilians for years and years. So yeah, the mining, especially humanitarian demining, is very painful, and we need as much cadres as we can uh, afford. So yeah, British instructors mostly came and they train locals, and we interpret. We try to bring the Western doctrine into minds of our soldiers who still sometimes think in a post-Soviet way.
Artem, I just want to say hello to our viewers. Good evening to New Zealand and good morning to California. And Trishka saying, many people have sight of war, but there are still very strong communities of support across the globe. Yes, guys, if you have questions, anything for Artem, please write down and we will answer. Artem, I just yesterday, when I was mentioning the article, and Lviv has this title, semi-safe city in Ukraine, and you have when people saying it here in the UK, and I have to a part of this expression explaining a lot because there is no safe place in Ukraine. But Lviv these days, it's like the cradle for Christmas, for traditions, those traditions which the Soviets were trying to destroy. There were punishment, the criminals, the charges. If you have any identification of this celebration of who you are or to war people you belong. And my first meeting with Lviv was in Christmas time. I was year 5 at school, and it was a school trip, and we went to Lviv, and it was so snowy and beautiful, and all this singing carols. You know, it was magical for me. And we were staying in some dormitory. I don't know the street, as you can imagine, but while we were walking from the city center, we were walking through the old villas, you know, something from probably Austrian Hungarian time. And for me, the girl from central Ukraine, we didn't see that kind of architecture that people could live and everything, and it was so exotic and it was so magical. So how live today? Does it still keep this Christmas magic, the magic of traditions, and how the war reshaped it, if it has?
Well, yeah, now we have lovely weather. Just behind my window, there is a beautiful snowfall, and finally, we have snow at Christmas, yeah, which is rarely this time. And uh, indeed, for Ukraine, west part is or far rear, yeah, from the front lines. So comparing to Zaporizhia, Dnipro, I don't speak even about closer cities like Konstantinivka, Drushkivka, etc. It's safe haven. Yeah, it's absolutely peaceful place. But the last night was air raid. Russians close to winter attacking our critical infrastructure. And Lviv, it's a hub, not only for people. Lviv is a hub for fuel. Lviv is a hub for electricity. It's a gates from Ukraine to the west. And here we have very meaningful node of communications, railways, pipelines, electric power lines. So our city is attacked weekly, we could say, yeah. And for sure, flying to um, some so far away, they mostly use their drones, their missiles for critical infrastructure. But this is old city. Nobody thought about modern buildings when they built old ones. And the main target in Lviv is a railroad station and all warehouses around with humanitarian aid, yeah, and maybe some military aid. But shooting these things down, yeah, we always afraid that they will hit something meaningful. And he was mentioning about beautiful Austrian-Hungarian villas district. In this beautiful, peaceful place, 2 years ago, Russian missile hit a three-story mansion. It collapsed, and the whole family died. Mom and four daughters. So it was terrible. All of it was mourning. But yeah, they shooting down these things, but even destroyed missile is still causing a huge troubles. Sometimes they're big as a car, and they can even part of them can fly into your window and kill you. So we have these stories, and nobody feels safe. All shelters are now cleaned, prepared. People try to not hesitate, go down. My friends, they living in a 14-store apartment building. And in front of them, there is a very crucial electric plant. Behind them, there is a tank repair factory. So they always sleep in a basement in their own shelter. because we already have a very pity moment when 2 years ago, our friends, reenactors from Kherson area and from Ivano-Frankivsk, they was a couple. They lived in Kiev. They stayed in the apartments on, I believe, 12th store. And during the raid, and Russian missile was hit down, and parts of this missile hit the wall of the house. For apartment was destroyed, and they was victims. So they died. Yeah, and we understand that this can happen to any one of us. Nobody knows, and because they're attacking in the middle of the night, sometimes people don't hear the air alarm. So our sleep is very distorted. Our life, it's like, yeah, it's peaceful here, but believe me, there is no family in Lviv who doesn't have friends or relative in the trenches. Because Western Ukraine always was very passionate, very patriotic, and most of the soldiers fighting in the first line, first rows, they were there from the Western Ukraine. So lots of people send their families here to Lviv. Like I have friends from Kharkiv who send their families to here to Lviv, and men go to frontline. Uh, before the war started, Lviv used to have more than 1 million population, and lots of people fled from the Lviv from the first days of war. Like they heard that it will be a danger, it will be attacked, maybe paratroopers around the city. So lots of people from Lviv moved to Europe. But in the same moment, tons of people came from the west, from the east, and Lviv is now probably one of the most growing cities in our country, busy city. Yeah, and these people are here. Um Sometimes people wander around Lviv, say so many tourists, and it's not tourists. First of all, it's locals because they have no opportunity to leave the country. I'm here for last 6 years already. I already forgot what is abroad. Yeah, because even though we are not in military ranks, men from 18 to 60 is not allowed to leave. And Lviv become a place of inner tourism, just a place to reboot. To came from Kharkiv with daily raids, daily attacks, daily explosions, just here, just to drink some mulled wine, just to walk around beautiful cobblestones, beautiful streets, historical buildings, and feel safe for a moment.
Yeah. The illusion of safety is quite strong in Lviv, because I remember during the first year of war when we were going with the TV crew. Lviv was always the base where we would stay overnight to Poland or from Poland. And if you go to the central square, there's always music and sort of couples, holding hands, and the beautiful this souvenir shops. It's If there was no air raids or the pixels, the uniform of military soldiers and officers, you can for a moment forget that there's a war, there's something happening. Artem, we have a question from Clinton, and he's asking what percentage of people, roughly, go to the shelters when the alarm sound, especially when multiple attacks.
I could say that this number is equal for all Ukraine because it's not about um, real threat. It's about understanding of a threat and about attitude. First days, when I woke up and there was 4 smoke piles around Lviv, around from both of my windows. Yeah, we took it very seriously. And those who see real damage which cruise missile can cause, they never hesitate. But from the other side, lots of people here become so tired and so fatalistic. They say, well, I work all day, then I go to some volunteer project to make nets, camouflage nets for army, or chop some vegetables for frontline soup packages. I come back home, I have 4 hours to sleep. Well, for me, it's on a daily basis. Each morning, 6 morning, I go to military range. After I return from the range, I also have lectures at university. And sometimes I have 3 hours with my family before I go to sleep. and again, back to work. So lots of people say, "Fuck with them." If the missile hit my house, who am I to stand against it? It's a lottery, and we know people who died in shelters, buried with rubbles. Yeah, some of my friends on the daily basis sleep in a corridor, relying on a two-wall rule. Yeah, that even if some projectile hit the outer room, the corridor will stay intact. As we see today, not oftenly, because even Iran drones, they have very big potential. They're a big, very big amount of explosives. So most of my friends who are active, who are uh, knowledgeable, they go to shelters. We start, to uh, approximate. Like, okay, there's a raid, but I'm living 5 kilometers away from any crucial infrastructure, so I can afford myself not to go. But yeah, if it's a big attack, if it's a massive attack, oh, okay, I go. If it's only MiG, it have only one missile, and Ukraine is big. This missile probably will hit airfield or factory, not my house. They won't spend millions to kill Mr. Artem. But who knows? So people, yeah, really approximate. Okay, it's in a neighboring district. It's not yet in Lviv, so I will sleep 20 minutes more and then run to shelter. It sounds funny, but people are so tired. They not react as sharp as they would react 2 years ago.
How does it make you feel, or how is life when it's festive time, when everyone's sort of celebrating and trying, presents, delicious food here and there, but you live together with your family in the circumstances that your Christmas might never come, your tomorrow might never happen. Um, do you think of this? Do you sort of? I remember talking to a few people, and this uncertainty, this sort of like you live like in a bubble, you don't know what's gonna happen, you can't plan your life, and it's just for years. Isn't this something like really, really upsetting? At least it's to say.
Well, yes, I have a friend who said, like, my boyfriend wants a kid, and I don't know what will happen tomorrow. I don't want a kid. And this conversation was the first year of war. Now we already in a finish of the fourth year of war. How many more years they need to wait to continue their family, to prolong their genes? Yeah. How long Putin will kill their own people, so
Mm.
we won't have possibility to uh, reboot our lives. Yeah. And there's lots of questions hanging in the air somewhere in the middle. But about Christmas, Lviv was always very religious city, and I'm not from very religious family. I used to be a teacher of philosophy, and so I have very philosophical attitude to Christianity, approach to Christianity. I respect those people who visit church on a daily basis, and for whom these rituals are meaningful. But I generally have more like philosophical understanding what is Christmas, what is the shortest night, shortest day and the longest night, and what ideas ancient people put in this date and in this symbols. And I celebrate for sure, and with all my friends. Yeah, and for local people, it was always religion was not so much piety, but tradition. I know people who are not in Ten Commandments very much. Yeah, but my grandma used to visit church. My mom used to visit church, so I should visit a church. Yeah, it's just part of their daily life and their reality. And uh, all these celebrations, they was very meaningful for locals, especially in a Soviet time when, yeah, be religious means to be anti-Russian, means to be anti-Soviet. So it was part of local creed. It was part of local identity. When I was a kid, I remember we was caroling. Yeah, in our country, it's still very popular when groups of people, not only kids but
Dressing up
also
with
grown-ups. Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah. wear some Christmas theater outfit, like angel or king, one of three kings here, or shepherd, or you name it, yeah. And go from apartment to apartment, ringing doorbell, singing carols, taking some cash money, some small money, or tangerines, and um, it was fun. And before COVID, way before COVID, we was organizing such Christmas parties for Eastern Ukrainians who was much more Soviet indoctrinated, and they never have this rural tradition of Christmas celebrating. So we was organizing tours to Lviv to explain what was Christmas for our ancestors. So we was organizing ritual dishes on the table. We was learning them to sing carols. We invite verteps, which are dressed teams performing Christmas. Miraculous, we could say, yeah, Christmas stories. We was then riding sleighs. We usually organize it somewhere in a rural area, in a private apartment of local teacher of Ukrainian language. So all locals was dressed in embroidery, like hosts inviting guests to their house. We was explaining meaning of each dish, each ritual, and it was very eye-opening for people from East. And for locals, it was always part of a tradition. They locals was wondering, how do you not know how to sing these carols, or why we put garlic on the table, or what is didu, and etc. etc. So even now, in this times of war, for locals, the preparation of Christmas scenery, Christmas theatrical shows, uh, it's very meaningful way to remember for what we're fighting for. You know, religion uh, originally comes from the religio, which legio it means a league, a unity, and religio means restore a unity. Because when you go out of a church, you forget about God and you think about property, about money, about sex, about your minuscule things. And once in a week, you go back to the church, like to the roots, to the source, to achieve something very meaningful, to remember why you live, why you are what you are, who you are, yeah, why you have a family, for what purpose you do this on a daily basis. And it's then the values come. That it's not money for money, it's money for good family, for a full warehouse, for, for uh, good life. And now singing carols, people understand for what they doing this. Like we have now very, very extremely popular choir called Gomin. Yeah, maybe you heard. Yeah,
Yeah.
and recently they made like a morning carols on place of military burials. So they come with relatives for those who will never hear more carols. They lying here because they put their lives on the altar of serving Ukrainian idea in the future. Because if not them, there won't be Ukraine anymore. Yeah, and we sing laughy, funny carols with tears in our eyes in a place where area covered by crosses and flags of Ukrainian regiments, and this gives us a hope. Yes, some of us passed away, but some of us still alive, and we need to fight for them and for our people.
Artem, we have a question from Clinton, and it's actually kind of similar to what you were saying about the people and children from the eastern of Ukraine. And but now it's in war situation. He says, how does this city make the eastern refugees welcome with their different language? I think it's referring to Russian speakers, different traditions, different calendar. How two cultures of such vast country find the common
You
ground?
know, Lviv suffers during the centuries from the Polish oppression, where 100 years ago Polish people was much very, very um, against even idea that Ukraine is something different. So for us, Polish language once was very triggering. Then Russians, yeah, they came in first in 1914, then they come in 1939, then they come in 1944, and There was lots of mass murders. There was lots of families broken, sent to Siberia, etc. So for lots of locals, patriots, the Russian language was very triggering. But from the other perspective, for 35 years, Lviv was the heart of Ukrainian tourism, and local people are open. We are very hospitable. We like uh, to show our traditions to others. We like to make money on this, and we understand that if we'll be arrogant, we won't have proper tourism. So Lviv was generally always very open, and there is a percent of aggressive people in every country, and always in every country, it's very small percentage, but this percentage is very loud. And when some event hit the news, you can approximate again. All Ukrainians are nationalists. All Ukrainians are against Russian language or something. But even in Lviv, my mother family part is Russian speaker, so I'm bilingual. And my father's aunt used to live in Poland. She was a slave to Nazis and stayed in Poland. So I'm trilingual. I speak fluently Polish from my childhood. And I have no problems to switch in any of these languages. So before war started, there were no problems at all. But now, lots of my friends who was Russian speakers in Lviv, they intentionally switched back to Ukrainian. For them, it's a new frontier. Our country was so open that there was really no much difference. They all know how to speak Ukrainian, but on a daily basis at home they use Russian. But now, for them, it's so triggering that those people who spoke all their life in Russian switched to Ukrainian. And they asked me, please, Artem, yeah, we know each other 20 years and we spoke Russian, but please, can you speak to us Ukrainian now? Because for us, it's crucial. Because I was bilingual. For me, it was not a problem. But for them, it's a new part of their life. And lots of people from East, where all cities was predominantly Russian speakers, they yet not step over this threshold. It's very hard to lose something uh, which is part of your soul, part of your culture, part of your mindset. Believe me, lots of people who are Russian speakers, they are huge patriots of Ukraine. They call themselves nationalists. They hate idea of being part of Russian world. Yeah, so they speak Russian language because it happens so. Yeah, and lots of people slowly shifting. So there is a conflict now where people here who lost their relatives there, even the word heard from some other person in Russian will trigger them to anger. Uh, but we understand that these people sometimes they lose everything. They lose their apartments, they lose their property, they lose their close people, and they are in such despair. We could not ask them to shift their way of expressing themselves. So we're tolerant. Some of them, some of us more, some of us less, but we tolerate. Uh, about calendar, well, uh, you will be wondering about Ukrainian Orthodox Church, which is not Russian Orthodox Church, and even Ukrainian Greek Catholics, which are like Catholics living in a Greek Orthodox way of making masses. 3 years ago, we was living by old calendar, and our Christmas was 6th
Yeah,
of January,
Christmas Eve, yeah.
and we switched like 3 years ago. And
Mhm.
even priests told to the journalists, like, we understand that we should, but our parish is old, mostly, predominantly old ladies. It's very hard to explain them why, how to break their all life tradition. So they was hesitating. Even Western Ukraine was living by this old calendar, and only now we was already like internally ready to switch. So there is some articles in our media. Oh, Lviv once was so Ukrainian speaking, and now we hear more and more Russian language in the streets. But it's only some people barking. Lviv is very hospitable and peaceful place still, and we try to solve the major problems, yeah, as host all refugees, as feed all of them, employ all of them, and then we will solve the problems with language.
Artem, how do you feel when Putin, he has very, I would say, peculiar historical knowledge, or by other words, I would say very twisted, and when he's sort of dividing Ukraine and weave in his plans goes to Poland. How does it make you feel, the person um, who grew up there, who knows, that's Ukraine, and you can't throw here, throw there, and what would you say to the people who might listen to Putin and might agree with him? This split in Ukraine.
The biggest problem of people generally around the world is arrogance. If you don't read the books, if you're not interested in the story, in history, you will listen to the influencers, and Putin is an influencer. You know, it's easy to get some knowledge from media where some talking head is talking. Yeah? And I always encourage people to read books. Even on my chores, I give them facts, but I refer to some um, sources and say, like, if you don't believe me, please read this. Yeah, I'm not hiding anything. And yeah, lots of people maybe know that Lviv for centuries was part of Polish crown and then Austrian-Hungarian Empire. But it doesn't mean that everybody here was Polish or Austrian Hungarians. Yeah, when even Polish patriots, Poland refers to Lviv as a part of their lost heritage, and we respect this. Indeed, lots of historical turning points happened in Lviv for them, and yeah, it's happened so because dynasty changed. You know, but the same was in England. Once Saxon king died, and Normans invade. But does it make all people in England French? Or then dynasty changed and Dutch overcome, yeah? Orange dynasty. Everybody become Dutch? Well, no. I believe modern dynasty is from Germany. Yeah. You are not Germans. Yeah. You're still British. And same was for us. Yeah. Polish people rule the city. But all the villages was Ukrainian. All the workers was Ukrainian. When Polish patriots say, "Well, who built all this for you?" Say we, because Ukrainians was builders. They was workers. They was putting stone on stone for you. And yes, they were serving Polish noble who, in that time, was ashamed to speak Polish as a rural language and spoke German. And he served the Hungarian king who never know Polish language in his whole life. And it was all built by projects of Italian architects and by the instruments which Germans and Armenians import, and on the loans which Jews donated, and then it was drinked by the Greek wine. So in such way, Lviv was living. Different nations living in a city played a role, and Ukrainians was always a majority in population. And though with Polish people we are very common, our language is much similar than Ukrainian and Russian. We can understand Polish language if they speak slowly much better, the same as Belarusian language. But they was Catholics. We preserve Roman Orthodoxy, so we never really mix. And religion was one of the anchors which preserve Ukrainians, Ukrainians, no matter what nation ruled us in a historical period. And always living here, we was trying to preserve our identity and spread it over around other part of Ukraine. So Lviv was a place where one of the first Ukrainian university was founded in late 1500s. Lviv was a place where first Cyrillic alphabet book was printed. Um, Most of the professors from Lviv area was professors of Kiev University and even Moscow universities. And in the beginning of 20th century in Lviv, they proclaimed People Republic, and all revolutions in Ukraine of late 19th, early 20th century, late 20th, early 21st century, yeah, like Maidan, it was mostly supported by Westerners. So yes, we have all opportunities to put a new border, join as a Western part to Poland or Hungary and become part of EU and live peaceful life. But we care for fellow Ukrainians who are now under Russian occupation, and it was always so. And we always think about one big Ukraine, and we never split our population into sorts, into
What's the
kinds.
narrative? Yeah.
Yeah, and it happened so that Eastern Ukraine was more rural, and Western Ukraine was more industrial and maybe educated due to big educational centers. But our elite goes to East to promote, to learn, to create an ideas, and Lviv will never leave other part of Ukraine to be a prey of some enemies. No Crimea, no Donetsk, nor Kharkiv, no matter what language they speak right now. Yeah, they are our fellow brothers, Ukrainians, our friends, and we feel very strong ties.
Artem, we have a comment from uh Matlich958, and he's saying it's hard to see Ukraine suffering at the center of the world war. I hope the world sees and understands. I'm a church organist, and my favorite song is Carol of the Bells. And Carol of the Bells is very special. It's not, we can't imagine Christmas without this melody, without these words, without the singing. But the creator of the song is coming from Pokrovsk, the
Indeed,
town that suffers a lot. And this Christmas in the UK here, King Charles made many people gasp. I don't know if you're aware, but after his speech, the carols of the bells were sung by Ukrainian choir, and the video was the work of the members of the royal family through the year. And I was sort of sitting on the sofa, watching, listening to his speech, and made my daughter, teenager daughter, to convince her to listen to it, spend her 10 minutes and checking the oven. So my Christmas dinner wouldn't burn. And there's Christmas of the Bells. Thank goodness I had phones. So I managed to film it and send my friends, to Ukraine. It's like, look, this is happening. This has just happened. With carols and with singing. And now when Ukraine reclaims her cultural, her history and many other things, how's it changing? And do you see, is there any different attitude, or maybe during this Christmas time there's more carols, Carol of the Bells singing than any of them? Have you noticed? Because Ukraine for many years, there wasn't associated with Ukraine, was it?
yeah, the song became very popular among the refugees who ran away from the war. It was Second World War and Stalin atrocities, and this song became popular in America, in the United States. And yeah, tons of people around the world heard this music from, I don't know, Home Alone, yeah, from lots of things which are predominantly tied to United States. But this song was indeed written in Ukrainian East, yeah. The Pokrovsk is Donetsk area, a beautiful city where Mr. Leontovich was born and creating, and Ukraine. Ukraine was always Ukraine. Ukraine around all parts was very, very traditional. Just eastern part of Ukraine was unfortunate to become part of Stalin Empire, and those patriotic Ukrainians from Donetsk, from central Ukraine, they were slaughtered in Holodomor, in artificial famine created in 1933, and then sent to Siberia. So people there was intentionally, created as some cadaver of Russia. But villages preserve this tradition. And in our country, during the Soviet time, there was you know, Ukrainian language was not prohibited in schools, but it was artificially made that Ukrainian language is language of the village. So if you want to be intelligent people, if you want to be to have a career like artist, actor on a TV or movies, if you want to be an officer of high rank, if you want to be an engineer or maybe a director of the factory, you should speak Russian. So Ukrainian language was left for kolkhoz, for collective farms, yeah. But still, though the Ukraine is big industrial country, the biggest part of society is still rural. Lots of people still live in villages. Stalin could not kill village totally, and lots of our people living in the city, they have grandma still living in a one-story building in a village. So for majority of Ukrainians, carols was always part of their life.
Yeah.
We never break this chain, tightening one generation to another. That's why here it's not like something faked, like it's not reenactment. It's a living tradition, living part of our life, which we have from early childhood, and having fun to remanage and reinvent for us grown-ups to understand meanings behind the funny words, to understand where this music come from, to understand what the symbols of this person's depicting Christmas scenes. And yes, around Lviv now there is lots of carols. We have symbol, Christmas star, and we have like master classes how to make the Christmas stars from different kind of materials. It was promoted by city government, city council. We have a parade of star bearers. We have like even a sport marathon of star bearers recently, and very interesting moment. Lviv is a place for tourists, so we have plenty of restaurants and cafes, and they was competing all of the previous years who will decorate the doors, the windows in the most Christmas way. But recently, it's another trend. One very good restaurant put posters on the walls on both sides of a door. Here should be Christmas decorations, but we decide to donate money to army instead of putting them into Christmas lights, trees, and uh, some balls and decorations. And they achieve tons of visitors as a respect for this attitude.
Yeah.
So yeah, we try now to maybe decorate our homes or our business less, but spend this money again as a host and used to be a part of show business. I feel now that the opportunities where I used to make money organizing concerts, organizing fire shows, organizing some medieval reenactment shows for people is not on the time now. People still need, the company still need a corporate party to, like, again, reboot to give some relief for workers, yeah? But instead of making a big show and spending money on it, they make very modest uh, evening dinner, some drinks, but donate most of the money, which can be spent on the actors, to the army, and it's totally understandable.
Yeah.
And lots of my friends who used to perform, they now performing well with a machine gun in a trenches, yeah. But the things which are not costly, yeah, but priceless, as uh, volunteer groups singing, walking from pub to pub, they gathering money not for day drinks but for donation.
Yeah.
Again, for tourniquet, for something else. Yesterday we were sitting in a pub, Drunken Duck in Lviv, with a good craft beer, and some of my friends who I know from long ago came in a group dressed. They start to sing. Old ladies. They try to sing in the old village way, how it used to be sung, with a traditional canon. And I saw sparkles in the eyes because they found a new meaning for their life. Yeah, new hobby maybe. Yeah, to restore something which was part of our ancestors' life to us, to citizens of 21st century.
Artem, how do you find the strength to find joys in these things like getting with friends, going to pub, and being, it's just being able to live the life when someone so intensely trying to take your life, your country, destroy everything what dear to your heart. Well, not long time ago, I seen in the news there's actually the cemeteries are very short of space. And when I haven't been at the Lviv cemetery, but when I see the footage or the photographs, there's just the area is just covered with flags, and it means the soldiers, fallen soldiers in this battle. How how do you find the strength to have this gloom, this horrible reality, and still, having living the life you have, the France, the best country in the world?
Mm, you know, I'm a very practical man in my mindset. Yes, and uh, Yes, as I told you, I was visiting with the British guys bringing pickups. This cemetery, last 2 years, each month, it was growing on my own eyes. It was more and more and more and more graves, new row, a new row, a new district. And yeah, in some moment on that place, there was a news. There is no more space. There was old Soviet uh, Second World War memorial called a Hill of Glory. And we decide finally to get rid of it. We made official rebearing with all military honors. We put remnants of dead soldiers who fought against Nazism during Second World War on outskirts of Lviv, with decoration referred to the Second World War and military honors, but no Soviet um, symbols. Because the Soviet star, hammer and sickle for us, is the same as swastika. It's a symbol of a second regime occupying us after first one, you know. Uh, but the decoration of that Hill of Glory was very pompous, very Soviet Empire style. There was eternal flame in a torch. There was like pylons of Egyptian style with bowed banners in stone and all symbols of that, stars and sickles and hammers. So we get rid of it. And this field is now totally refurbished and will made a new cemetery for our soldiers. And unfortunately, we have new graves already there because we're seeing that Russians, not Putin. It's I hate to speak about that side of a war as a Putin. You know, it's not huge, giant Putin fighting with us. There's millions and millions of Russians. There's 145 millions of them, or 44. We killed 1 million, but they accepting this war. You know, if only they will be normal people. If only they will have something human in their souls, they will be on their squares protesting, not kill us, not send our son to kill fellow Ukrainians, don't kill our children. But they okay with this. They empire in their mind. They are slaves, and they happy to have Tsar, and happy to be bold, happy to be put it in a yoke. Yes, and this nation will always hate Ukrainians because we live better than there, because we have other mindset. So they will always come to kill us. And we have, in this situation, only two choices. We can leave and live in somewhere Western countries, or we can fight, or we can surrender, like three choices, yeah? If we will surrender, we will be dissolved and become Russians, which we don't want, because we know what is to be Russian. And it's humiliating. It's better to die than to be Russian, believe me. If I'm half Russian, so I understand. Yeah.
You can say
If
that.
if you go to West, uh, you will become local, and your kids will be Polish, Spanish, British, but not Ukrainians. They will lose the language of their grandparents. They will lose the carols. They will lose the values, and they will become locals. It's not bad for that countries, but it's bad for Ukraine. We will gone. I don't want this for myself and for my kids.
Yeah.
Though I have maybe ways and money to live in some other countries, but who will live here? Russians? I don't want to give this precious land to Russians. Yeah. So either we can stand on our knees and surrender. No. Either we can go to the West. Well, no, because they will go after us. You know. The third way is to fight. So yes, our people are dying, and more people will die soon. But if not this third choice, they won't be a Ukraine as it is. They won't be Ukrainians. So we have no options. We can only cry, brace our hearts, and do what we need to do, no matter how many years more, no matter how many countries will support us, maybe not, maybe any. Um, only one way.
Artem, Trishka's saying, Artem is very effective storyteller. I would love to join him for tour of Lviv when it is possible. Yes, you can do that. And not just for tour guide. If you're going with any mission to Ukraine or you need fixer, interpreter, your person who will help you, I will leave links to Artem's social media so you can contact him directly. And those who are waiting for peaceful time to see Ukraine, Artem is your person. And I would like to share, you saying such powerful words about being Ukrainian, having Ukrainian identity. For the past year, it's been such a tremendous time in terms of Sweden, and I'll explain. We have quite a loyal and quite strong viewers in Sweden. And it's happened after the interview of Marina Tratna. She's Ukrainian woman, lives in Sweden a long time. She's a lawyer by day-to-day job, by her passion with the history. And she started researching archives, Swedish archives, in terms of Ukrainian history. First, she started the lineage of the family of her husband, and she came to sort of some Viking who lived in 900 something, maybe his name Bern, but I'm not sure. But and after that, she was so inspired by success, and she started looking the Ukrainian side. And apparently, Swedish archives has so many treasures, and there is so much about Ukraine without this communist and Russian interference. So there's a lot of things. So she went through different clarifications to be able to read those archives. Anyway, I had her interview on the podcast, and it brought so many views from Sweden. And through those two people who watched the interview, they contacted me, Marina, and apparently we found the ancestors correct, the people who lived after, right? No. Anyway, great son of you can imagine how many times great. Yaroslav the Wise, from the lineage of Ingigerda, his wife, she was the Swedish princess. And this person, he very much into researching his family tree and DNA analysis and all of that. So it's quite substantial analysis. And he's a Swedish architect. And can you imagine 1,000 years history and just saying, oh, hello, I have some Ukrainian connections. And recently, about being Ukrainian, can you imagine? Philip Orlik and, the Poltava battle and King Charles XII. So when he got back to Poltava, Philip Orlik went to not Poltava, to Sweden, and Philip Orlik went there, and there were 40 Cossacks with him, and they all settled down, with families on Christianstad. So the second person who contacted me, he's coming from those Cossacks. His family coming from Christianstad, and they didn't speak the language 300 years, but they kept Ukrainian traditions, and he remembered that. And this is the best evidence, the best explanation of what does it mean Ukrainian identity and being Ukrainian Cossacks. And when I just couldn't believe. So this is, and again, going back to Putin's claiming that Lenin made up Ukraine or created Ukraine, it sounds funny, isn't it?
Yeah. Indeed. Lots of Ukrainians was spread around the world. There was from First World War and Austrian-Hungarian times where there was depression here. The people was moving, and Ukrainians was always, rural people, so they picked lands which are similar by the climate and other values to our way to make agriculture. So lots of Ukrainians live still in Argentina, in Brazil. Lots of Ukrainians live in Canada, in New Zealand, Australia. They're Ukrainians, indeed. They kept their identity. They have these Yuki's clubs and restaurants. They sing the songs. They dance local traditional dances, but they still members of other countries, So it's good to have small diaspora, but if all the country will lose the land, we will turn up to be like Jews, wandering around the world, but having not our own piece of soil. Yeah. And it was ours. I always explain my tourists. Yeah. We have the names of the rivers, and toponymics is a very meaningful thing. Uh, we have a village nearby Lviv called Horosno, and Horos was a god of sun in ancient pagan times, before Christianity. And it was god of the sun, so Horosno is on the top of the hill, where you're close to the sun and you can pray to it. So we can say that because the name of the village never changed since the pagan times, it means that the same people as today, they live on this land of 1,000 years. So why we should lose this land to somebody else? If we already survived Mongols, Goons, um, all invasions you can imagine, Ottoman Empire, Swedish, yeah, and we're still here. Our rivers never change our names because they still have old Indo-Iranic STR like Strid, Dniester, Borispen. Yeah, this STR letter connection is very ancient. And if we don't change the name, so we are locals. This is our land. Yeah, this is meaningful for us. I always tell to my tourists, recently read a few years ago an article about one American professor lady. She was investigating like passionality of the nations, and she make one interesting mention that traveling across the world in every capital on the central square, I see a man on a horse with a sword. Because the heroes of every country is the conquerors, kings who attach some lands, to conquer some enemies. But everywhere Ukrainians live. Every city in Ukraine, and also every city where Ukrainians live across the world: Brazil, Argentina, Canada, Australia, Britain. There is always in the center of community a bust or a sculpture of a poet,
Yeah.
of Taras Shevchenko. So our nation is peaceful. And we live here since Viking times. Yes, our first kings was Viking lineage yet, but uh, for all this century, thousand of years, all those 10 centuries, we never attack any neighboring land to make it our own. We never claim any land from neighbors. We lose some cities founded by Ukrainians to neighbors. And living now in 21st century, we don't ask like Polish people to give us Holm, which was, Helm, which used to be Ukrainian home, or Peremyshel, which was founded by Ukrainians, or Ryashiv, which is today called Rzeszów in Poland. And Putin say that, well, Crimea always was part of Russia, but he forgot that Malenkov exchanging Crimea, to Ukraine, take from Ukraine um, Taganrog, which is today part of Russia, and we don't want Taganrog. You can have it. Yeah, just Crimea is ours because Ukrainians live there. Yeah, my grandpa was from Rostov area, Kuban.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was Russian in his passport, but all village where he was born was speaking Ukrainian because there was Ukrainian Cossacks living in Kuban. This is our area. We don't want it now. Yeah, we don't want to change the borders. Ukrainians never want to change borders by force. We always have enough of our land, and we know this is a good land. This is a good soil. This is a good mountains. We want to protect them. We want to live here. We want to own, which is ours, and doesn't want anything from neighbors. Just get lost. Leave us alone. Let us to live here. Yeah, and fuck off. And you will be happy to have trade with us. Yeah, because the Ukrainians was always produced great goods. We were selling wax to Spain to make candles in Catholic churches. Yeah, this was land of milk and honey. Uh, we don't want part of Spain. We want to trade. We want to live peacefully. We want to create an exchange. We doesn't want to stay on the knees and work for the Tsar. That's it.
Yeah, Artem, saying all of that and touching so many sort of areas of Ukraine history, identity, and heritage, what do you love the most about Ukraine?
Again, sorry, I lost my thought. Can
What
you
What do you love?
repeat the question?
What do you love the most about Ukraine? I ask this question
Oh,
all my guests.
um, I don't know what to choose from people or food. Food or people. Oh, it's a joke. I love about Ukraine. I love my history and which I'm master in, and I love the people who I know. So many different people, but so much in common. And I like nature because my first education is geography, and when I started to study at university, I was shocked when I opened my eyes on the Ukraine. I'm a tourist. I travel around the world, but uh, this is the most beautiful place to live. And this country have everything from desert to peak of alpine peaks of mountains, from the dense forest to wild steppe. This country is worth to protect. These people are worth to protect, and this culture is so bright and interesting. It's worth to discover. Yeah, this I like most.
Thank
And
you
borscht
so much.
and dumpling.
Usually the most common answer is people, and sort of the guests share in different experience. But I would agree, food and people. It's and the beauty of our land is just absolutely unbelievable. We have unhappy viewers saying that Crimea belongs to Tatars. Absolutely, they live there for centuries. It's their culture, of course. So Ukraine belongs to Ukraine, and yeah, so there's certain
To
references.
answer to that moment, I could say, well, Wales belong to Welsh, and Scotland belong to Scotch, and uh,
You touched the
Western
nerve.
Ukraine, well, Transcarpathian belong to Rusins. Every country have its own ethnic groups which happen to live, yeah, and part of Crimea belonged to Tatars because they lived there for centuries, but south of Crimea belonged to Greeks, yeah, and Mariupol belonged to Greeks and Germans because lots of German people live there. Yeah, and around Odessa, there is lots of German settlements. And part of Ukraine belonged to Moldovans because they live there constantly. And we are happy to have them because all these traditions bring only more flourishing to our culture. Yeah, I know Crimean Tatars, a lot of Crimean Tatars. I worked with them, with their communities in the beginning of the war. We was making lots of stories about Tatars are enforced to Russian army, yeah, in Crimea, and I respect them. And in Lviv, we used to have two mosques in Lviv before the war started. Now we have three because Crimean Tatars moved to Lviv, and I like the traditions in food. We don't want to Tatars leave Crimea. The Tatars themselves choose to be Ukrainians, and as the same as other nations living in the country choose to be members of this country. Recently was referendum in Scotland, yes, and they choose to be British.
They
Yeah,
did. There
I,
was
I see your scared eyes, but yeah, it's okay to have difference. It's okay to have different languages. France is smaller than Ukraine,
yeah.
and north of France rarely understands south of France. They have different dialects. 200 years ago, 100 kilometers from Paris, nobody will understand language of Paris. There was Occitanian language, there was Bretonian language. There will be always some small nations, sometimes thinking to uh, leave and be their own country, sometimes living together. If we speak about Russians, yeah, I always said to the people in this political conversation, okay, we are much closer to Russians than to Hungarians, for sure. And choosing the side where, like, to be part of what union, like uh, European Union, our neighbors are Romanians, Hungarians, Slovaks, and Polish, yeah, or Russians. Uh, we will maybe gladly be part of union with Russia if they, having all resources in the world, will organize proper life, proper laws, respect to the laws, respect to the traditions, proper hospitals, proper education, proper life for their citizens. We will be happy to join that union to have benefits from it. But having all the money in the world, having all the resources, huge Siberian forests, diamonds, gold, uranium ore, oil and gas. They doesn't have gas pipes in half of their own country. They doesn't have toilets in half of their own country. It's not the joke. But instead, they make tanks and give them to all Arabs in the world to throw Jews into the sea. This was a doctrine of Russians, to kill those who want to have freedom and other way of life. They come to Ukraine, they come to Bucha, and they took a shit to write on the wall, who allow you to live such good? Because they were shocked that in Ukrainian village there is asphalt on the street. And instead of making asphalt in their own street, they will put all Ukrainian to shit, into on one equal shit. Yeah? So this is a Russia, melting pot, destroying every identity, not to make any difference, only be Russian. For Ukraine, no matter you are Tatar or Jew or Karaim or Hungarian, we are happy to have you here if you accept Ukrainian traditions, because you live in our home. We're happy to have you here. We're happy to have you as a part of our bright tradition. But don't tell us how to live here in our country.
Absolutely. Artem, thank you very much for finding time and giving this, this honor to listen to you and sharing history and this magical Christmas from Lviv for me and for our viewers. I will leave for everyone. I will leave Artem's social media in the description under the video, and please feel free to follow him, to contact him, and cooperate, collaborate, anything you like. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for your questions, and
Thank you for your conversation.
Oh, my pleasure. And see you next time. Hopefully, we will have more lives. And don't forget our usual time at Sundays and 10 o'clock UK time. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Please hit the button if you enjoyed the stories and what Artem told us today. And lots of love whenever you are, as in New Zealand, Sweden, California, UK, anywhere. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you. Bye.